And we're back. Sorry about that, guys out there. We lost connection for a second. Technology, you know how it is. It's got a mind of its own.
No problem. Hey, everybody. So I was just talking about the Stargate 84 thing, and basically the whole deal was how uh, this match, although it was only 5.5 minutes, it had a realism to it. Moving forward, later in the show, the Steamboat Blanchard match, um, what caught my attention about that match was the intensity and the fact that it felt like a real fight. Steamboat and Blanchard, two guys from the 80s and the 90s, but mostly the 80s, that people talk about as the all time greats. Well, neither one of these guys was placating to the crowd. I mean, these guys weren't doing a move and then making a funny face and looking to the crowd for approval, or participating in a crowd chant, or listening to the sing-song nature of the crowd. The crowd was into this match. This was like the 8th or 10th match on the show that night, Thanksgiving of 84, but the crowd is hooked into it. And the way that Steamboat and Blanchard are doing their match, if you compare that match, which I had remembered as being like a 45-minute match, but it was only a 15-minute match, but it seems like this epic war. And to compare that with Austin Aries and Marty Scurll, and I'll take issue with Marty Skrull's style, I guess, of just this, this facial gestures and just how the crowd has to sing to him and his whole gimmick. I mean, compare Marty Scurll to Tully Blanchard. I think a guy like Marty Scurll could learn a lot from Tully Blanchard just by studying his matches. So I guess what I'm advocating for, in short, is that if wrestling fans are unsatisfied with today's wrestling product, you've got 40 or 50 or 60 years worth of wrestling DVDs to watch. You can watch your Jim Crockett promotions from the 80s. You can watch your Mid-South. You can watch all types of wrestling promotions that are no longer with us through the McMahon family dynasty, so to speak, although they run this small business thing for Trump. And you can just clearly see that there is better wrestling from days gone by than there is right now. And so that's basically the point. I mean, the Steamboat Blanchard Starrcade 84 match, comparing that to Austin Aries and Marty Scurll is an apple and an orange. So I guess when, Cody Rhodes, to his credit, or whoever the hell else, can get 10,000 fans or 5,000 fans or 500 fans for an independent show, that's all well and good. But this type of old school mentality comes to my mind, and I guess I just want to share with younger fans, especially Cole, who might be wondering, that sometimes when you're into pop culture, whether it's wrestling or movies or anything,
Yep.
you can kind of just look at what's going on currently and say, "Oh, what's playing in the theater? Not much. I hate it. It's all superhero shit." Well, then go watch Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom or Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, there's always something in the world of pop culture, whether it's wrestling or film or anything, that is superior from a prior generation. And I just want to share with the fans that, I mean, this Steamboat Blanchard match, the reason why it gets over for me is because it feels like two guys are actually fighting. Two guys are fighting in the pro wrestling style. It's not pro wrestlers who are, sports entertainers parodying wrestling. It's an actual fight, and that's the way I saw it.
Yeah. I I I liked, like I said, I didn't really watch that whole Brown match, but I've always been a fan of Aries, man. I've always been a big fan of Austin Aries' style for some reason, except for the shit he did in WWE. So it's hard for me to nitpick anything he does. But I will say what you said. Back in the day, wrestling is way better than it is today.
Right. And I read Austin Aries' book. I mean, I think that Austin Aries' Food Fight book, I don't know if you've got to taken a look at that, Cole, but he's an interesting guy. He talks about in his book how he became a wrestling fan and he would buy the AWA Remco action figures, like the Baron von Raschke and the Rick Martel and the Road Warriors action figures. And I do respect Austin Aries, and watching this match, I almost felt sorry for him. Like, he seems like he's suffering through this crowd. And like, I mean,
I,
talk about
sorry to interrupt, but I don't think he's happy. I don't think he's happy with where he's at right now, to be honest with you.
right.
Can you see that? I mean, could you see that point of view of it? Like, I don't think he's 100% satisfied with where he's at in his career for as long as he's been doing. Don't get me wrong, the dude's making money. He's got a championship belt at every fucking promotion. Right now, he's got like 5 belts with him. So I hit him up on Twitter and told him I'd be his personal belt carrier.
That's a nice thing for you to offer. It would be kind of fun to be like Austin Aries. It's actually a good gimmick. It's pretty good. Like the guy who carries his belts. He's got so many belts, he's got to hire a guy to walk around with his belts.
Yeah, it's like, I'll do it for free, man. Just let me travel with you. I'll carry all your fucking belts. I don't care.
Your audio is a little low for me, Cole. I don't know if it's coming through the audience, just so you know, buddy.
All right, is that better?
No, it's the same.
Yeah, let me turn it up a little bit here. Can you hear me at all, or is it quiet?
Yeah, I can hear you. That's better. Yeah, it's getting better. Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. Again, technology, man. I love it and hate it all at the same time.
Well, because of technology, a couple of guys from different parts of the world are able to do this conversation, and I'm trying to see if this Steamboat Blanchard thing. I guess, am I making this analysis relevant? I guess is my question, Cole. Because as my co-partner here, am I making a point with this?
Yeah.
Or,
you're definitely making a point. I definitely get what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying. I just like I said, it's just hard. Like you said, you didn't like that Austin Aries match. I'm probably the first thing we haven't agreed on, so it's kind of just different. You know what I mean? We always seem to agree on our point of view. So,
well, that's okay. I don't
okay.
mind disagreeing, and I guess my thing is that when I watched that match, the Austin Aries Marty Scurll match, see, for me, it was like I was getting so angry with the WWE and how shitty and boring they've been. I was literally in the gym and I'm like, man, let me watch something on my phone while I'm doing this cardio exercise that's going to make me feel good about being a wrestling fan right now. And somehow in my YouTube feed, Austin Aries came up, and for whatever the fuck reason, I think it was because of all the Bullet Club and Cody Rhodes and Vince Russo controversies. I was like, let me look into these Bullet Club guys, and I found myself with Marty Scurll versus Austin Aries. Who the hell knows how I got there? And I'm like, well, let me see what the people are watching. And I'm watching this thing, and for whatever reason, the match. What did you think of the crowd? Like all the sing-songy nature of that crowd.
That was a turn off, but at least they weren't like chanting like "This is awesome," blah blah blah. You know, they were chanting like "Awesome sucks," "Get him," Marty, whatever. So at least they were chanting shit, heel type shit. You know what I mean? Instead of chanting throw shit. So I mean, I liked it, but they're a little bit over. Well, you got to think they probably don't get too much live pro wrestling unless is that organization there full time, or were they just there for tour?
I think they're there full time because I mean it seemed to be like a big thing. Like they seem to, I mean, to their credit, they do have production values with this World Series wrestling. I don't think like I said, it wasn't World Series of wrestling. It was just World Series wrestling. But I mean, I'll say this: if anyone out there, is more towards Cole's side of the fence on this Austin Aries Marty Scurll match, or even the participants, I mean, I'd love to talk with Austin Marty about it, and maybe they have something to say about it. Maybe they don't. But I mean, I'm more than I try to be open-minded. It was just a match to me that made me reflect. Like, man, this is everything I don't like right now about wrestling. Is that the crowd is really the stars of this match. The wrestlers are here to serve the crowd rather than the match being the focus of the crowd's energy. It was like the wrestlers were placating to the crowd too much. And I don't know. And just the fact that it's being scheduled or it's promoted as the world title match of this show, and that the way that it ends is this goofy kind of Terry Funk stumble bumble, whatever the fuck. To me, it didn't feel like a world title match that I had gone and seen that and put the money in, I would be a little upset. I mean, I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah, definitely. So let's get to a couple of things here because we're getting to our 30-minute mark, and we try and keep it under an hour. This stuff might take us for a little second here. 2 things. First, we're both Vince Russo brand supporters.
Right.
So, with that being said, I'm tired of all the hatred. I'm going to go ahead and lay this out there for everybody. And whoever whoever hears it, whoever doesn't hear it. Vince Russo is the greatest wrestling writer of all time. All time. Point blank, period. He wrote, wherever he wrote, the ratings went up. When he left, the ratings went down. All these people, Eric Bischoff, Jim Cornette, blah, 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 who hate on his success, blows my mind because Vince Russo is writing for a local wrestling company in Colorado called Rocky Mountain Pro and just got him a TV deal. Is Jim Cornette and Eric Bischoff writing wrestling for TV right now? No, they're not.
Not that I know of.
No, they're not. Vince Russo is taking another company and got him a TV deal, not all on his own, and he never takes credit for everything he owns. I spent all my day today arguing with Vince Russo haters all day long. And I'm sick of it. Give the man the respect he deserves. He wrote some of the best shit in wrestling. And again, he didn't do it himself. He had help. Ed Ferrara, or Ed, whatever his name is. Vince McMahon, blah, blah, blah. Bruce Pritchard, all them. But when he took over, the shit was lights out, man. Lights out. So I'm just tired of the hate, man. Give the man the respect he deserves. You might not agree with everything he says. You might not like everything he says. But that doesn't mean you got to hate the dude and blackball him from the wrestling business to go to events like the shit that's going on. It's just not right. The man contributed. He's still, like I say, contributing. He's helping these young guys. They're on fucking TV. They're on TV. So I'll just leave it at that. That dude deserves way more respect than he gets. The second thing I wanted to talk about was the Sami Zayn segment. What in the fuck was that?
It was bad. It was very long, and it was one of those things where, let's put it this way. If they had to do this segment, could they have done it in such a way where Sammy brought out one sister a week for 3 weeks in a row, and so that the segments were all shorter, and maybe they got progressively more offensive or progressively lamer, and then finally Bobby had enough and came out and beat up. Because if you did that 3 weeks in a row with one sister a week, and then the third week Bobby comes out a house of fire and starts beating up, the sister and Sammy. But I'll tell you, Cole, I'll be honest, a lot of people had hate for that segment. Some people, there's articles, and I haven't, read them yet in full disclosure, saying that it was offensive to transgender people or cross-dressing people, or even, I don't know if they said it was offensive to women. I don't see how it could be, but I guess to me, it was just like, I'm so beaten down and so accepting that WWE is so bad right now that it's almost like when they do something good, I celebrate that, because they're doing so much crap and so much boring stuff that it's almost like this is just another piece of shit that they've served up.
Yeah, I don't understand how that even made television, man. I don't get how you sit there, you write that, and then you're just like, oh, let's put this on fucking TV. It's gonna draw numbers.
It was pretty bad.
Well, and then X-Pac. Okay, so X-Pac on Twitter said, "I'm cool with never seeing anybody make a skit like that." Long story short, obviously he used other words. And Road Dogg chimed in and said, "That was the highest rated segment of the week."
Well, that's bad for everybody.
Well, from what I heard on Russo's podcast, The Review, Jeff Lane said that it dropped 15% after that segment for the rest of the night. So I don't know if Road Dogg's just being a company man and doing what the fuck he's supposed to do, or if that's actually true. But either way, if that was the highest rated segment of the night, then we got issues.
Well, we know we've got issues with WWE, and one thing that I would think is that, I have this whole conspiracy theory, and maybe it's bullshit or not, and please chime in, which is WWE going to Fox, Rupert Murdoch, who's very red state, very Republican, very right-wing, and supports Donald Trump, and Trump and McMahon are friends to the point of Linda McMahon working for Trump, and Trump is in the WWE Hall of Fame. My theory, which I'm still developing, and I don't know if anyone else has talked about it, I wouldn't be surprised, and I have no proof, I have no evidence, it's just conjectures, just thoughts, okay, folks, is that could Trump have somehow been instrumental, or the friendship of Trump and McMahon and the support of Rupert Murdoch to Trump, does that have something to do with McMahon getting this $1 billion deal on Fox? And it's one of those things where I have no proof. I'm not investigating to the powers that be. I'm just conjecturing. And if that's the case, if Fox is a traditionally conservative owned network with conservative leanings, do they want their programming to be conservative, meaning not take risks, not be attitude era, not be chancy, not sable with their top off, not loose Pillman, loose cannon Brian Pillman type of stuff. So if that's the case, is it possible that the WWE programming is not going to get much better? It's going to get much worse. You know
I,
what I mean?
I think it's gonna get much worse, man. I don't understand. And then all these people out here like, oh, the WWE's getting a fucking $1 billion deal. The WWE stocks rising. WWE, it's better than it's ever been. Blah blah blah. I don't think that's the case at all, man. Because like everybody says, ratings. You still there?
I'm still here, buddy.
Yeah, ratings don't matter. So for some reason, ratings don't matter. When back in the day, that's all that mattered. You know, with all this new social media, fucking the merch and all that shit. But I mean, if that team, if dude, they've lost 800,000 viewers since WrestleMania. That's a fucking problem.
It is a problem, and they should think how many viewers since WrestleMania?
800,000.
Oh my God, that's almost a million.
Yeah, that's insane.
And that was what 7 or 8 weeks ago.
Yep.
So, I mean, you're right, and I think sometimes if people that are watching this podcast, what have they done to our sport? They're kind of in on this because they know if you're bothering to watch us talk about wrestling, you probably have similar views. You're probably not someone who doesn't like wrestling. So, but for those that might have stumbled upon us just some freaky way, why would a couple of guys care this much? Because we're very loyal pro wrestling fans, as most fans are.
Yep.
We're the diehards.
Yep. So like
we're taking the time to talk about this stuff.
SmackDown's coming in to my hometown, Omaha, July 4th, I think it is. And I used to go, like you said, religiously. Every time they came in town, they'd come in town like 2 or 3 times a year. I'd go at least once every time. You know, I would never sit ringside or anything like that. I'd always be probably second tier. I don't know if I'm gonna go because for one, I don't know if I can sit there for 3 fucking hours and watch that shit. You don't hear commentary. 2, not that the commentary is great, anyways. But
right.
And my youngest son, Jace, he's really getting into wrestling. He's a huge Seth Rollins mark. I have no idea why. Hopefully he grows out of that when he gets older. But every time Seth Rollins comes on, it's fucking nobody can talk Seth Rollins on TV. He wouldn't be here for SmackDown anyways, but he wants to go. And I'm stuck because like I really don't want to sit through it. But at the same time, my kid wants to go, so I got to take my kid, man. I don't know what to do.
It's a tough call. I mean, because as a dad, you don't want to deny your son the fun of seeing the wrestling, but at the same time, your own logistics and your own sentimentality or sentiment of, hey, this show is not going to be that good. That is a split thing. You know what I mean? So that's tough.
Yeah, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to. I'll probably end up taking him because that little shit gets the thing he wants. But
well, I'd probably do the Craigslist thing and just try to get some cheapo tickets, or
like
write to WWE Human Relations and say, I'm dying from eyelid cancer, and my son go to the wrestling matches before I die.
Yeah, I don't know if they like that. That'd give me some heat, bro, because then I'd show up in perfect health.
Well, you say, well, my eyelid cancer's in remission. My eyelids are fine tonight. But when I blink, I suffer through thinking this is a good wrestling product.
Yeah, I would definitely wear my Vince Russo guy t-shirt, though.
Well, the funny thing is, today is Wednesday. I could be wrong, but I think that they released some type of something else to wrestle, and wasn't the topic Vince Russo? Wasn't that the case?
Yep, and I don't have my membership to the network anymore. It expired last month, and I don't know if I'm going to renew it. But of course, the only reason I'd want to renew it is for that episode today.
Well, mine expired as well. After canceling 2 or 3 times. Of course, my running gimmick is the guy that cancels the network, and then they keep charging him for it anyway. But I think they did cancel me this time. I haven't even checked in 2 or 3 days. I mean, I was having a lot of fun watching those Starrcade matches last night. And I guess for fans who kind of wondering, um, I guess my biggest point with bringing up the matches of the past is that we always have options, and even this Australian group, which you liked more than I did, obviously, but that's might be something for you to keep an eye on because
Yep.
as wrestling fans, we do have the option of watching something else, which is and maybe that's even with All In and their
Fuck all
dismissal or
in.
their all out, all in, all out. But the way that they are, I'll still give them credit with respect to Vince Russo. They're still doing a show that I may not even watch the show.
Well,
I watched their press conference where I
they
guess
said that.
Marty sang the song and all these these guys singing the song with Marty, and they put a guy through a table, and I guess that's like the new headlock. Like back in the day, Cole, like the President Jimmy Carter put Mr. Wrestling 2 in a headlock, or Sting, the musician, put Sting, the wrestler, in a headlock. Like if you ever wanted to have a non-wrestler do a move, you just put him in a headlock, or put the other person in a headlock, and that was like the jokey photo op move.
Yep.
And now it's put a guy through a table. Like if you watch that All-In press conference, they go through this trouble, and I don't know if it's Flip Gordon or whoever that they put through a table, but it's just so silly that the All-In thing. I hope it's successful, but I hope that somebody is actually putting some thought and care into making it a cohesive show, not just whatever best 8 or 9 matches they could throw together from the indie scene. I do think Cody and Nick Aldis will be a good match. Those two guys are too good to not have a good match. But
Do you think CM Punk shows up?
I think he probably will. I mean, I think that he'll be in the arena at least if I mean he's going to do UFC again, I believe. So
Yes. It
he
all
may
ends.
not show up to actually
All
do
ends
a
the
run
day.
in or do anything like that, but just to show up and say hi, he probably will.
I'm pretty sure all ends the day after his fight.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And he was there. He was backstage at the press conference picking up shirts because he's doing some T-shirt signing. So that's got everybody going crazy about it, dude. If CM Punk comes out and they don't have that shit streaming, it's gonna. If he comes out, it's gonna blow the roof off that fucking place.
I'll be honest. I liked his wife better. I like AJ Lee. I thought she was a great talent, and I think it sucks that out of loyalty to her husband, which is commendable, we haven't been able to see her wrestle in several years. And I think that a woman who's probably 29, 30 years old right now, if ever she was going to have a few more matches, I'd rather see AJ back in the ring than Punk myself.
I'm a fucking huge CM Punk mark, man. Huge CM Punk mark. But all right, we're at the 45-minute mark. We got some more work to do later on. I want to thank Mike. Episode 2 or 3? 3? Episode 3?
Episode 3.
Getting better. I'm still dealing. It's all my fault. All the technology issues are my fault. I'm dealing with them the best I can. I'm trying to get them fixed as soon as possible. We got some more kinks to fix out, but we have great conversations. I have fun doing this. It's fun watching the old matches you suggested to me. I wish I would have been a little bit more prepared for you, but I got caught in that Austin Aries match, and that was kind of like, ooh, I like it. So, again, next week we'll have some more shit to talk about. This started out as a review show. There ain't shit to review except for horrible segments and shit like. I mean, if they gave us something to talk about, we talk about it. But really, nothing.
The biggest thing to really say is just Stephanie McMahon putting herself over the talent as always. And that's just so redundant, and it's been going on for so long. As far as matches go, look, there was at least one good match on both Raw and SmackDown. Finn Balor had a good match with Braun, and last night on SmackDown it ended with a really good Jeff Hardy. Daniel Bryan was actually a pretty good match. So.
Yeah, but you pin your champion. I mean, what the fuck's he the champion for?
Good point.
I mean, there wasn't anybody else Daniel Bryan could have went over.
No, you're talking about the U.S. champion, Jeff Hardy.
Sorry. Well, yeah. I mean, you couldn't have put him over anybody else.
I guess not. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and
I mean, don't take away from a great
things.
match. It was a great match, and Jeff Hardy's one of my all-time favorites. But now, I mean, the more and more that shit keeps happening, that championship don't mean shit. So.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of their secondary belts have just been muddled for 15 or 20 years.
So we'll sign off here. You guys have a good night. Thanks for checking it out. Let us know what you think. Let us know what we can do better. Like I said, I'm working on the technology issues. I'm trying to get them 100% kinked out, but I'm not pro yet. I haven't put 10,000 hours in yet. So